Let's make hard lemonade on a Walmart budget.
I'm Greg.
I'm Julie, and we're the Crafty Winners.
So most of our videos are geared towards people that are already in the winemaking hobby. These prison hooch.
Hooch? You keep changing the name of it. It's Hooch now.
Prison hooch hobo series that I'll link above are not geared towards people that have done it before. So this might be your prime opportunity to run down to your Walmart, grab these ingredients, and try making wine for the first time. Or in this case, hard lemonade.
Hard lemonade, yep.
But yeah, we normally focus on ciders, hard lemonades, wine, stuff we call Franken brews, which are made out of soda pop or whatever. So everything that we use in this video you can get at your local Walmart or a grocery store that has groceries and kitchen stuff. Doesn't have to be Walmart.
Fred Meyer, Albertsons.
We track pretty carefully to make sure that everything that we are showing you here can come from a Walmart for sure. So we'll get started. Obviously, if you use our full recipes for making lemonade, it's going to come out tasting better than what this is going to come out, but this actually is pretty tasty.
I think it's pretty good, yeah.
It's something that we drink.
Yeah.
So first thing that you need is a container that is over a gallon and has a spigot. Now, Walmart changes what they carry quite frequently. This is the Mainstays brand, which is a Walmart brand, so it's probably going to always be in stock, but other ones that we've used... Sorry, Pippin, did I step on you?
Oh.
Pippin and Nori are corgis.
What is she? She's eating something.
I don't want to guess.
Oh, it's a paper towel. All right, no more paper towel.
So other containers that we've used can include this one that ours right now doesn't carry. Don't know why. But important spigot, and important, this is a 1.25 gallon. This one is like 1.2 gallons as well, also has a spigot. So any of these will work, or if they aren't carrying any of these at the time that you look, whatever one that they have that has a spigot and is over a gallon will work. Every time I put those on the floor, the dogs are hoping that there's something in them that they can drink.
But there's not.
1 gallon plus pitcher. This is a Rubbermaid one that came from Walmart, but they probably have others. So any that are a gallon plus, this comes in very handy. You can probably get by without it, but it makes it a lot easier. Everything that you use to hold the lemonade needs to be washed in something that will kill any bacteria. This is Anti-bacterial Dawn, and it's not expensive and it will last a long time. So you buy it once and you can use it for all of our recipes if you want. We use something called Star San when we're really making wine, and it's much better, but this works in a pinch.
And you might already have it sitting around, so.
This is great value brand lemonade, very cheap. Not the best tasting stuff, but it works. And if you want to make a step up, Walmart also carries the Simply brand, and that's a much better tasting but more expensive lemonade. We're going to go ahead and use the Great Value brand because this is a Walmart video. So baking soda comes from Walmart.
Sugar also comes from Walmart.
Can come from Walmart. This next ingredient is going to be optional. If you feed your yeast, it's going to be happier and make better drinks and go to probably a drier percentage, which is all good things. So the kind of food that you can get from Walmart is whole wheat flour is a good one. If it's bleached flour, a lot of times they'll take out a lot of the nutrients when they bleach it. So it's better to have whole wheat flour. Your Walmart might carry wheat germ, which is even better than this. Ours doesn't carry it, which is why we're not using it. But that's even better. And then if you can't find either of those, cream of wheat non-instant will also work. So what we did to make up this food is we put 5 tablespoons of this wheat flour, and then 1 full packet of the 3 that you buy, 1 full packet of Fleischmann's yeast. We bake that in the oven at 225 for 10 minutes. And what that does is it kills any yeast that might be in the flour, because that can happen. It also kills the yeast that you intentionally put in there. And then that ends up being food for the yeast that we're going to be using to ferment, because yeast are cannibalistic like that. So again, that is optional, but I would Highly recommend it because it's going to make things go smoother, and we'll have fewer of you in the comments saying, hey, it didn't work if you do that step. So we will get started with our ingredients.
I'll move the flour out of your way.
This lemonade has obviously been opened, as you see, which isn't a problem. It's been in the refrigerator. It is good to let any ingredients warm up to room temperature before you put the yeast in. I'll try to remember to say that again here in a minute. So we're going to fill this up to 1 gallon. And then this is usually going to end up being a toy for the puppies, but lately they haven't been interested in my games.
Nope. They want a paper towel.
It's good to shake this up to make sure there's no sediment at the bottom, and in this case I don't see any, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that. So 1 gallon of lemonade. This will go back into the fridge for our next batch.
We're going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar.
About a healthy tablespoon of our yeast food.
And 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda.
Stir it up as well as you can within reason. There can be some floaty stuff in there. That's not a huge deal, but try to stir it up well. In a perfect world, you'd let this warm up to like 80, 85 degrees before you continue, but at least room temperature.
Then I am going to add half a packet of this Fleischmann's yeast.
And she's just sprinkling it on top. You don't want to stir it in or agitate the yeast any more than you have to.
Correct.
They'll find their way.
Oh, they will.
They are a living organism, and if you watch, you'll see them start to, it's not quite swimming, that's not the right word, but they start navigating through the liquid.
Okay.
So you can use more than half a packet, but it's definitely not necessary. And we are going to use this at a later step. Maybe not this particular packet because we're doing lots of videos today, but
it will be Fleischmann's.
It will be Fleischmann's yeast. So airlocks. You want to have the ability for CO2 to escape this when the fermentation is happening, because that's the byproduct or a byproduct of fermentation, as the sugar is being turned into alcohol by the yeast. So CO2 is going to be able, in this particular case, come out this little pinhole. But the little pinhole is too small to allow bugs to enter, at least any bugs that are in our basement. We have big bugs.
Big bugs.
So if you have a different situation, just do your best to try to make sure the bugs can't get in. It's definitely big enough for CO2 to come out. You could actually just put a coin on top of it or something, and the CO2 would still find its way out. I'm going to check tomorrow. We're going to put this in an 80, 85 degree room. It can be your furnace room, water heater room, some area of your house that stays warm. Warmer the better within reason. I'm going to check tomorrow to make sure that the fermentation started, and it should be pretty obvious. There should be swirling and bubbling and a lot of things going on. It could take up to 3 days, but typically it's going to happen pretty quick because we're feeding these guys right. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have this container, if you have one of these alternate containers from Walmart, for an airlock for this style, just don't twist the lid on, or at least not very far, so that CO2 can escape and bugs can't get in. In the case of this style, just leave that not completely closed, but closed enough that bugs can't get in. You can also watch our making red wine on a Walmart budget video to see how we made a airlock out of a balloon and a cork from a wine bottle, but it's not really necessary. You can just keep that loose like that, and it'll work just fine. Sorry, Nori. So we're going to put this away and wait a full 4 weeks. It may be done a long time before 4 weeks, but since you don't have any tools to check that, it's good to wait the full time. You'll know that it's done because the bubbling and activity stop for the most part. I mean, 99% of it will be done. You may see a bubble every once in a while, but that's just CO2 being released. But you do want the CO2 to be mostly released before our next step anyway. So 4 weeks is a good amount of time to let it ferment. You can also taste this when you think it's done.
It will taste a little odd.
It won't taste much like lemonade. It'll be a shadow of lemonade, and there'll be absolutely no sweet in it. If there's sweet in it, it's not done. So either it didn't complete correctly or it's still fermenting. But 4 weeks is generally going to be enough time, even at cooler temperatures, for it to finish. So we're going to put ours away for 4 weeks, and we will be back to show you the next step.
Oh, okay, so we're back.
It's been 4 weeks, right at?
Yep.
And there's zero activity in this. There's no bubbling. There's no CO2 bubbling. It's just completely still. And that's how we know it's done. So again, everything has been re-washed and done antibacterial to make sure that there aren't any germs. Although now there's a little bit of alcohol in this to help protect everything. But
still.
So first thing that we're going to do, optionally, you can put this container in your refrigerator for 3 days to get more of the sediment that's in here to fall to the bottom. We are very short on refrigerator space right now, so we did not do that because we've got so many batches of so many things going on. So yours could be more clear than what ours is, but this is clear enough for us. So I'm going to act like I'm pouring a draft beer, put this on its side a little bit, and then use the spigot to let all the hard lemonade go into my pitcher along the side of the pitcher so that I'm not adding a whole bunch of oxygen to it. But all of the sediment is staying in there because the spigot is about 1/2 inch off the bottom. So this is called racking in the winemaking world, but this is a totally different way of doing it. This is the Walmart way of doing it.
But it works.
That's about as much as we need to get. I had to get help so I didn't look like a weenie because holding that with one hand, I was shaking. So we have all of the sediment has been left behind, and this is now just hard lemonade. So this is a dry hard lemonade. It's not going to taste very good. It's not going to have a lot of lemon flavor, not as much as you expect at least, and it will have 0 sweet. So it would be kind of not something you want to drink. So you've got a couple choices here. What we're going to do is carbonate this naturally, and we're going to show you how to do that. But you could do this a different way and skip the carbonation if you wanted to, if you prefer it without it being carbonated. One way or the other, you probably want to use, of course, a Great Value brand lemonade concentrate to both sweeten it and add the lemon flavor. But if you're not going to follow the rest of our recipe and carbonate it, you'll want to make sure that this always stays cold, because the sugar that is in this concentrate is enough to definitely start the fermentation back up. The yeast that's in this is just dormant. It didn't die. It's still in here. So as soon as you add sugar, and it's already got nutrients in here, if it warmed up to the point where it was like 60, 70 degrees, given a little bit of time, it will start fermenting again. And if you have it in bottles, that would be a bad thing. Yeah. Because it produces CO2 and pressure, and those things don't bode well for bottles. But keeping it in your fridge, adding this and then keeping it in your fridge, you'd be fine. The other option, if you didn't want to carbonate it, is you can get on Walmart.com and buy potassium sorbate, add some of that to this, 1/2 teaspoon, to this gallon, and then let it sit 24 hours before you add the juice, and then you don't need to worry about it warming up and starting fermenting.
True.
But this is about what stuff you can get at a Walmart store and do it yourself. So we didn't really want to include that as part of the recipe. And we are going to naturally carbonate this. And to naturally carbonate it, you want there to be some sugar. Now,
but not too much sugar.
This is borderline too much sugar. But we've tested this several times, and we know that it's safe as long as you follow our instructions. You'll get away with this, and you'll have a nice, naturally carbonated, good-tasting hard lemonade. Mm-hmm. Carbonated.
Yep.
So, without further ado, I'm going to add our concentrate to it. So all of the sugar that is in this, which in this case it is 6 servings per container, and it is 19 grams of sugar per, so 19 times 6 is, I'm looking at my cheats.
Forgot the calculator again.
114 grams is what my note says of sugar. And that's a lot of sugar for natural carbonation in a gallon. But as long as you're using these bottles that we are showing you here, we know that they can handle that pressure. So this is a great value club soda. Great value also has tonic water. You could use a Coke bottle. Any bottle that's designed to hold carbonated liquid will be tough enough to handle the carbonation that is going to come out of this, in our experience.
Yep.
So make sure that the lid is intact. You can drink the club soda in this case, or you can do what we did, and we just opened this and poured it out. But we know it's in good shape that way. But again, if you have one sitting around, as long as the plastic is not crispy, hasn't gotten in the sun or whatever, as long as it's a good shaped bottle, you'll be able to do this. But anything that we put in here that has sugar, that sugar is going to get fermented out and is going to produce CO2. So you have to be really careful how much sugar you put in there. So to make it more lemony than what it would otherwise be, we're using Crystal Light drink mix.
Yes.
So we've found that the magic number seems to be 1 teaspoon of Crystal Light gives us the amount of flavor that we want. And it is a Crystal Light flavor, not as lemonade-y as maybe what you might want. So if you put more in there, it's going to taste more like Crystal Light. If you put less in there than a teaspoon, it's going to probably have just a little bit less flavor and less sweet than what we like. But feel free to mess with it, because we couldn't stop you if we wanted to. I think that's about a teaspoon. So you want to let this warm up to at least room temperature, and probably warmer is good. Just like the area that we had you keep this to ferment in, you probably want this to be about that temperature before you add yeast to it again, which is what we're going to do here just in a minute, because you don't want that yeast to be shocked by the cool temperature when you put it in.
Right.
There is yeast that's still active in here. A lot of people will say that what we're going to tell you to do after we put this in a bottle is silly.
Or is not necessary.
People have told us that, but we want as many of you to succeed in this project as possible, and this is called insurance yeast. We highly recommend that you do it. Put a little insurance yeast in the bottles, just in case no yeast actually made it into this bottle. A few grains of yeast isn't going to harm anything, and it may well be the difference between carbonation that worked and carbonation that didn't work. You want yours to work after you put all this effort into it, right?
Yes. We want it to work for him too. I almost always use a little bit of insurance yeast when I'm naturally carbonating.
So these are 1 quart bottles. So in theory, if you didn't lose a lot with the sediment, you'll end up with 4 of these bottles per batch. We're only going to show with 1 because it's silly to show you with 4.
Because they're all the same.
So she is getting a pinch of yeast, and it really is like maybe 10 grains.
It's just a tiny bit of yeast.
Not enough to change the flavor. So the real important thing here now is to put this cap on tight.
Correctly.
Yeah, make sure it's seated correctly, and then put it on tight. Otherwise, your CO2 will leak out, and you won't get the carbonation.
I know that because I have done it incorrectly. Got it a little crooked.
Squeeze it. Make sure you don't hear any hissing. Make sure it feels firm.
Yep.
So get used to how that feels, because when you check this in about a week, it should be a lot tighter. Mm-hmm. So put this in a room, probably the same room that you did your fermenting in. You want it to be 80, 85 degrees if possible. And you need to wait a full 3 weeks this time for this carbonation to take effect. And we always I wanted to keep the label on there so you could see this was indeed great value. But I'm going to take the label off because it's no longer club soda. And I don't want...
If it is, it looks really weird.
I don't want anybody to be confused. So again, we're going to do this to the other 3 bottles approximately off camera. And we will come back after 3 weeks. Make sure you give it a full 3 weeks.
Yes.
To be safe, to make sure that you got your carbonation level. And we will be back after it's done. Okay, another 3 weeks has passed. And these are very firm.
Oh yeah, doesn't move at all.
So, I chilled this before we tasted it. You don't want to drink warm carbonated drinks, so definitely chill it.
Also, it can come out real foamy if you don't chill it.
Yeah, be very careful. This and the other carbonated, we did an apple cider video as well at the same time along with this, and it had even more potential carbonation level. These are going to be close to champagne level carbonation, probably. I'm expecting. Well, that wasn't as
That wasn't
as much as I thought.
as impressive as I expected, but
This, I'm gonna admit, is not a Walmart bottle. This is one of the other three that we filled. I think it's
Shasta or
Shasta,
something.
and those labels don't come off as easily.
Yeah.
This will have to end up soaking to get the labels off, but it does still taste the same. Okay, I'm giving you a healthy amount to drink here because I think it'll be good. Probably not anything like what we're drinking right now.
But definitely not like what we're drinking. Oh, that went to the back of my throat. It's definitely got a zing.
But it's not overly carbonated.
Mm-mm.
Pretty good. We have a video that shows you how to make base hard lemonade that is a lot better than this.
Mhm.
But you have to buy the stuff. You have to have the pH meter. You've got to have the hydrometer. You've got to have the potassium sorbates and chemicals and stuff to put in it. You didn't have to do that with this. So you shouldn't probably expect it to be as good as what you buy, Mike's Hard Lemonade or whatever. But it's pretty good.
Well, it's got a lot less calories than Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yes.
A lot less sugar.
There's the crystal light comes through.
You can tell there's a little. You can tell a little bit that there's crystal light in it.
But I really like it, and this isn't going to be going to waste. So
I think it's good.
it's a
Success.
success. And we have 3.5 of these bottles.
Yes, we
So-
do.
I'm trying to not drink stuff that has sugar. This doesn't have any sugar now. It is dry, even though it tastes a little sweet because of the crystal light.
The crystal light did
it's
that.
it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Well, we've got some kids that can help us too.
We-
I'm sure they'd be happy to help. Well, thank you guys for watching. Hope you try this. It was kind of a fun experiment. Easy and pretty darn inexpensive.
We do have others you can watch
Yep, we do. We
that
have
are along the same Walmart budget.
apple cider and white wine and red wine, champagne. I'm forgetting one. Oh, Arnold Palmer. Why can I not say that word? Arnold Palmer. There we go. I got it.
And soon to be seltzer and mead. So watch out for those.
So please like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Until next time, cheers.